So we're talking about price fixing. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you are in any small business model, price fixing is going to affect you negatively. It's messing up the entire economy. So if it messes up the entire economy and you're part of that economy, you're going to pay a price. So as a small business owner or an entrepreneur, anything, just listen to me for a couple minutes about what price fixing is doing. It was enabled by large marketplaces like Amazon. It brought together so many systems that when people wanted to manipulate, they could manipulate in one place and have a big enough effect. Which is to say, if you're selling a product and you can kick everyone else off Amazon, you can sell enough of that product on one marketplace to become a millionaire, to sell everything you want to sell. There's no limit, especially if you can monopolize or control the sale of that product, or in this particular case, the price of that product. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but I do want you to know, even if you're not in retail sales, third-party sales, even wholesaling distribution, if you're not in that chain, you're still affected because the economy has been crushed since the early 2000s, 2006, 2007. And it is simply a lack of government regulation relative to price fixing and other things like price fixing that are going on the same thing. So they have things like the Sherman Act. They have these things over the past 50, 100 years that have been put in place so the government can control a lot of these different types, vertical, horizontal, price fixing, price manipulation, price ceilings, um, pretty much anything that allows somebody to unfairly control a market or a product. Now you have these internet marketplaces where if you control them, you control everything. And so, and it doesn't just have to be retail. You see a lot of distributors going out of business now because people are selling on Amazon cheaper than the distributor can sell wholesale. That happens all the time. But let's talk about how this works. So early 2000s, bad professor here, started at the beginning, early 2000s. When I was making money in third-party marketplace, I was doing really well. I did great. I went through ups and downs. But early 2000s, the law changed. And it didn't change specifically. It didn't go from it's against the law to price fix to now it's cool to price fix. That's not how it works. Trust a brother. That's not how it worked. How it worked was actually with manufacturing price fixing. And so what happened was there were big cases in manufacturing where manufacturers that were horizontal, I think that's the right way to describe it, so both horizontal, both in the same position, they were price fixing to get advantages over each other. And so what the Supreme Court realized, or any court that had to deal with these kind of really high visibility cases, 2007, what they realized was the thing about price fixing is you don't want price fixing, but you also don't want innovation to be destroyed, which means if a manufacturer feels like it can't make an investment because it can't control prices at all, and the minute it makes that investment, it's not going to have the opportunity to make that investment back, then innovation is lost. So organizations and institutions like the federal Supreme Court have to understand as judges that innovation is important also. And so in 2007, they decided in a landmark case, it was more important for innovation than to defeat price fixing, which means this manufacturer could price fix probably for a certain time period. We're not going to go into detail about law. We're not going to go into detail about the case. What I'm telling you is how this affects you. And so this landmark case changed what's called per se price fixing. And that means prior to that 2007 case, 2006 area when things changed. Prior to that, if you were involved in price fixing, it's called per se price fixing, which means it's clear price fixing and it is illegal. There's no gray area at this particular point. There's no what they call interpretation of law. And so you don't go to a case and you go, well, in this particular case, if you prove it's price fixing, if you did any of these things like intellectual property violations that were clear in courts, that were provable in courts, they would say, this is the violation, it's a per se violation, here's your punishment. So after that case with the manufacturing landmark case, what happened was more things became evaluated on a case-by-case basis, which means when that manufacturer won based on innovation, everyone at different levels, not just manufacturing, wholesaling, distribution, and retail, any different point in the chain could look and say, well, now it's kind of up in the air. Now I can make the case price fixing is good in my case. Price fixing is okay in this particular case. Price fixing works in this case. And what evolved from that is the new third-party internet and internet sales in general's environment. And so one of those, just one quick example before we end the video, I think you're getting my idea that the climate has changed and you're in for a shit show if you're trying to start a small business and you're trying to deal with products especially. So one example is manufactured authorized pricing. And that means a manufacturer can go in and say, you're not allowed to sell for any less than this, or we don't sell to you. And then they threaten you and they get Voorhees to send you the letters over and over again. And they scare you out of business. They can potentially sue you, even though that's rare. There's a lot of things they can do. Consult your lawyer if you have a question whether you're actually going to get sued. Don't listen to me. I'm not an attorney, even though I did stay on Holiday Inn Express last night. So what happens is the manufacturer institutes all these controls. Maybe in the beginning they thought they were doing the right thing, but then the manufacturer realizes they can sell on a monopolized marketplace, like one that controls and dominates the industry. Like their product fits with the Amazon system. They can go to Amazon, they can ship by FBA, they can ship by Prime, they can sell to Amazon, they can sell themselves by setting up their own little secret store. My enemy did that, set up a secret store with a different name in the same town, in the same street. Got caught, didn't matter. No one's enforcing these things anymore. That's your takeaway. But what the manufacturer pricing did was it enabled the system to grow and flourish and evolve to where manufacturers themselves could sell direct through a marketplace they could control. So now they can sell their products for whatever they want. Or they make a deal with Amazon. Or they make a deal with Walmart now. Do you wonder why when you list a product on Walmart, it says we have a special deal with the manufacturer? It actually says it. They're not trying to hide it, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell you is post 2007, this isn't a law anymore. It's not an enforceable law. It's up for debate. And I think if you took anyone to court over any of these steel-clad price fixing things like manufacturer suggested pricing bullshit, especially when they start their own store, to maximize the monopoly and the price fixing that they want to do all along and skip distribution or sell to distribution, sell to end party retailers, and then sell themselves. I hope you're following this video. This is horrible. This is exactly what happens. And so that's what you're in for. You need to know the whole breadth of that. That's what this channel is about. This channel teaches you a lot of third-party stuff, a lot of stuff that really reflects what's going on in the rest of these industries. I was in third-party for 30 years. I can tell you all the stuff from top to bottom that can ruin your store and hurt you and you need to be prepared for. And if you really understand all this, maybe you can make some money. I couldn't. I gave up. That's why I'm making videos. Thanks for coming. Go shopping.